Hey guys, it's Danny with another perspective video. So I wanted to thank out to Case Study QB for supplying us with this video, but we have a very interesting, well, let's say back and forth between the press and Donald Trump over Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. A lot of big names all in one video. Let's take a look.
Sanders has dropped out
I
today.
did see that today.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't really drop out. He didn't really. What about his delegates? I mean, he said he's going to keep his delegates, and which is sort of interesting. He's going to keep his delegates, and he'd like to get more.
Yeah, that is a decent point. So, like, we've already sort of established at Hardlens that Bernie Sanders has more or less given up. However, Trump makes a decent point. In most cases, you give your delegates up, you pledge them. Are they in ongoing negotiations? I'm not sure. But those delegates have not been given up, and that means a little bit of something. We'll see. Let's keep going.
Now, is he dropping out or not? That's not dropping out. When you keep your delegates and then you want more delegates before you get to the convention, that's a weird deal going on there. I don't know what's happening. And I don't know why President Obama hasn't supported Joe Biden a long time ago. There's something he feels is wrong.
Okay, here we go. This is back to regular Trump. Blame Obama for everything. Go back to Obama. However, he has a fair point. Why hasn't Obama openly endorsed Joe Biden for president? That's a very decent question. We've asked that for a while. And now an interesting thing about this is that it seems to be pretty conclusive that Obama was actually the person who was on the phone with everyone on the first Super Tuesday and got everyone together, something that we did not expect to happen. We sort of expected it to happen just like it did in the Republican primary, and that's, again, that's what the Sanders campaign was expecting as well. But Obama got everyone to drop out and go behind and back Biden. But why has Obama not overtly backed Biden? Now, of course, Trump is saying this in his own way to try and be like, oh, look at this, my opponent's terrible. Look at this, is the worst opponent. Can't even get the previous guy he worked with. That's exactly what Trump's doing. But there is a element of truth to it. It's just not the truth that Trump insists on. It's very weird. It's like, a cult leader, there's a 5 or 10% kernel of truth in the 90% not. So let's keep going.
Why isn't he'll come out? I'm sure he's got to come out at some point, because he certainly doesn't want to see me for 4 more years. We're not. We think a little bit differently.
We get it. You hate him.
You know what? I'll tell you. It does amaze me that President Obama hasn't supported Sleepy Joe. It just hasn't happened. When's it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Why isn't he? He knows something that you don't know. That I think I know, but you don't know.
Trump doesn't know. If he knew, he would not shut up about it. This is like when the Democrats were like, we have all this stuff on Bernie Sanders we're about to release any day now. They didn't. They don't. Trump doesn't either. Everyone's trying to figure out what's happening. Because, again, Trump would be shouting from the rooftops. If he had I found a doctor's note, it's like Biden has dementia, he'd be waving it around. He would tape it to the front of the podium at every single press conference he's done here until the end of the election.
So it'll be interesting. But with Bernie, I saw his standard fare today. I watched. And I hope that a lot of Bernie Sanders people, just like they did last time, we got a tremendous percentage of Bernie people.
No, he didn't. He got 12%, which is historically in a primary election pretty low. I will remind everyone that when Hillary Clinton ran against Obama, 24%. Remember Puma, Party Unity My Ass? That was the Hillary Clinton thing. It's crazy how things flip when upon the perspective. Where people are is different, let's just say. 24% defected over to John McCain in 2016. 12% defected over to Trump. Now, that to be fair, a lot of these people were Republicans who were actually preferred Sanders over Trump, which is something we've argued on the show. Is like, why would you ever get rid of Sanders? He can get Republicans to vote against Trump. He can get waves of independents to vote for him. Yet we want to get this senile old guy who has a bunch of, basically has the same exact allegations that Trump has in corruption in family, sexual assault, things of that nature. The only difference is one did real estate or one worked in government for a period of time. So Joe Biden, you have the crime bill, You have the bankruptcy bill that screwed over students who could no longer go bankrupt because of student loans. Trump did business deals that, were, seemed to have a lot of influence of other stuff. Had a lot of people. Yeah, I'm not gonna. We don't have time to get into all that, but you guys know those stories.
And I think they voted for me largely because of trade, because Bernie and I agree on trade.
That's not entirely true. Your America First is like American companies first because you're still allowing them to be outsourced. Carriers still outsourced after you said they wouldn't. You're basically just rebranding NAFTA. That's what the new trade deal is. It's just a rebranding to small. Bernie Sanders is actually trying to make American workers win in the end, not the American business owner. That's an enormous difference.
We agree that the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country they do business with. The difference is I've done a lot about it, and I'm doing more about it. And we've made incredible trade deals, including USMCA, the deal with China, and then all of a sudden that gets disturbed by this virus situation. But China has to spend almost $250 billion on purchasing our products, $40 to $50 billion with our farmers. And the Bernie Sanders people are big believers on what I'm saying on trade, and I got a lot of them in the last election that surprised people, but it didn't surprise me. No, those are great people.
Isn't this sort of like ridiculously interesting? Although Trump is being narcissistic about the whole thing, look at the good deal I got, I'm so amazing at making deals, blah, blah, blah. That's why the Bernie Sanders people like me. Isn't it super fascinating that Donald Trump is actually doing more outreach to Bernie Sanders supporters than Joe Biden is? Again, what is Joe Biden doing? I will lower the eligibility age for Medicare from 65 to 60. Yeah. Again, Hillary Clinton was willing to go down to 50. So Donald Trump is actually in this statement doing more positive outreach. The Bernie people believe in me. They believe in the policy I have. I believe with them and the whole trade thing, and we're being screwed over. Yeah. But he's actually acknowledging them positively, saying, I would like to have them in my camp. I would like them to vote for me, which Joe Biden's not even really doing. In fact, all the things he said is that he will veto policies that we care about. And again, to quote him directly, I have no empathy for millennials. It's sort of a terrible situation when Trump is doing decent outrage. There you go, little Freudian slip. Outreach in comparison to Joe Biden, or really Joe Biden's campaign. Let's be real.
They're great people. But I just, look, I'm looking at Bernie Sanders. I watched this morning, and I said, what is that all about? Like you saw that the delegates. He's not giving up his delegates. He's keeping them, and he said he wants to get more of them. And I think he's doing it to negotiate, I assume, but I don't know. That's a hard thing to do.
And there you have it. We have a very interesting situation developing. Now, this is just the start, because right now, Bernie Sanders has just dropped out, and Trump is right. He's holding on to his delegates. So now the real question is, over the next few months, will Trump actively, with policy, try to sway Bernie supporters? Like, I would say if Trump enacted Medicare for All, which seems entirely unlikely, however, more likely than Biden doing it, since Trump has never said he wouldn't do it. He said like a spectrum of doing it. Like, I won't, I will, I might, I will, I might, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. Whereas Biden has said, I will veto it if the Congress and the Senate passes it. So, you have that. So if Donald Trump enacts a big piece of Bernie Sanders' policy, he's going to get a lot of converts. I mean, let's be frank. I am consistent with my ideology, and my thing is I will vote for the person. I don't vote for greater evils. I don't vote for lesser evils. I vote for good. And if Trump enacted a Medicare for All policy that is akin to Bernie Sanders, as much as I hate to say it, if that's a universe that happens before the election, which it wouldn't, but I'm just saying if it would, I might be swayed. because it's policy. I care about policy. I care about policy. I care about the longevity of that policy. And I would love to see the Democrats try and fight it. But this is what it is. Guys, I'll see you on the show.